Bombardier Beetle. When a spider, ant, frog, or other hunter gets too close, the Bombardier Beetle fires back with a blast from its rear end. Inside its body, it stores two chemicals separately and mixes them only at the moment of danger. The reaction actually happens in a very tiny chamber, heats the fluid almost to boiling, and sends out a hot, irritating spray. The beetle can swing its abdomen and aim the shot, so the attack is precise, not wild. A small predator can be shocked, burned, or driven off instantly, and the cost is that the beetle must rebuild its chemical supply after using it. One surprising fact is that the spray doesn't come out as one smooth stream, it leaves in a rapid series of pulses. Horned lizard. If hiding, freezing, and looking hard to swallow doesn't work, the horned lizard uses a defense that seems impossible. When a dog, fox, or a coyote keeps harassing it, the lizard raises pressure around its eyes until a thin stream of blood shoots from the corners. That sudden little hit can startle almost any attacker, but it works especially well on canines because the blood tastes extremely bad to them. Researchers in fact think that awful taste is linked to chemicals connected to the harvester ants this lizard eats. The cause is obvious. Blood is being lost, so this is the last resort defense, not something to waste. One surprising fact is that some horned lizards can actually aim the blood more than a meter away. Malaysian Exploding Ant. Next comes an animal so loyal to its colony that it actually turns its own body into a trap. When rival insects push into its space, a worker ant bites the enemy and braces itself. Then it contrasts so hard that its own body wall bursts open. Sticky yellow fluid pours out and smears over the attacker. The glue-like mess then in fact can pin the enemy in place, stop it from moving well, or forces it to retreat before it reaches the nest. The cost could not be higher. The ant dies while using the defense. One surprising fact is that this suicidal move is mainly used by smaller workers, which means the colony treats some bodies almost like living ammunition. Sea cucumber. A sea cucumber looks slow, soft, and easy to eat, but some species answer danger with a very shocking escape plan. When a fish or another predator attacks hard enough, the sea cucumber can in fact shoot out sticky, white threads from the rear end and even expel parts of its insides. Those threads stretch very fast, turn sticky, and wrap around the attacker. If organs are expelled, then they can distract the predator long enough for the animal to crawl away. The cost is serious because losing internal parts is not minor damage, even if the animal survives it. But here is the strange part. In some species, the lost sticky tubules can be rebuilt in only a few weeks, so the weapon can return again and again. Hagfish. Losing organs is not the strangest trick here. When a fish bites a hagfish, the hagfish unleashes slime on a ridiculous scale. Special glands along its body squirt out mucus and tightly packed threads as well. The moment that material hits seawater, it expands into a huge jelly-like cloud. To a gill-breathing predator, that cloud is basically a nightmare. It can flood the mouth, clog the gills, slow water flow, and make breathing suddenly very difficult. Many attackers in this case in fact let go at once and gag the way backwards. The cost here is that the slime glands do not refuel instantly, so the hagfish cannot waste this defense. One surprising fact though here is that the slime can in fact expand to around 10,000 times the volume of what the hagfish first releases. Hairy frog. If grabbed, the hairy frog does something that sounds like a horror story almost. Hidden inside its toes are really sharp bone tips. When the frog's threatened, powerful muscles pull in a way that breaks those bones free and drives them through the skin, turning the toes into claws. The claws then can slash at a predator and make it loosen its grip. This isn't like a cat extending a claw. The frog is literally punching its own bones through living tissue. The cost is obvious and painful because the defense injures the frog every time it uses it. Scientists in fact still don't fully agree on exactly how the tissues reset afterwards. That being said, one surprising fact is that these are not even true keratin claws at all. They are bare bones, and among living vertebrates, that design is extremely rare. Iberian ribbed newt. This next animal turns its own ribs into weapons. When threatened, the Iberian ribbed newt arches its back and pushes its ribs forward until the sharp tips pierce through the skin along its sides. At the same moment, the skin releases a milky poison, so the ribs emerge coated in something that actually makes the bite much worse. A predator that tries to mouth the newt can end up stabbed, irritated, and very quick to let go. The cause here is self-inflicted damage, even though the animal heals quickly. One surprising fact here is that there are no permanent exit holes waiting for the ribs. The skin is pierced fresh each time, which makes this defense look almost impossible even when you know how it works. Skunk. Not every defense needs blood or broken bones, obviously. A skunk usually warns first. It stamps its feet on the ground, raises its tail, hisses, and gives the threat a chance to leave. If the danger, regardless of those, keeps coming, the skunk fires oily spray from glands near the tail. That spray is basically full of sulfur-rich chemicals with an incredibly strong smell. If it hits the face, the predator gets eye pain, nausea, and a lesson it'll never forget. Many animals in this case in fact break off the attack immediately. The cause is that the skunk has only a limited supply and needs time to make more. So spraying, of course, here is also the last resort. One surprising fact for this matter is that the smell comes from chemicals humans can detect only in astonishingly tiny little amounts. Pufferfish. Then there is here the pufferfish, which makes itself into the wrong shape for dinner. When a predator lunges, the fish rapidly gulps water into its stretchy stomach and swells it into a very hard-to-handle ball. As the body expands, spines point outward and the whole fish becomes much harder to bite or swallow. A hunter expecting a normal fish instead gets a mouthful that barely fits and may hurt coming out. The defense works, but it is not free. Inflating takes real efforts, and after the fish deflates, recovery can basically take hours. One surprising fact is that some pufferfish don't stop breathing while puffed up. Their gills keep taking in oxygen even during the swollen state. Opossum. Opossum, if fighting or fleeing both fail, the opossum may collapse into one of the most famous defenses basically in the animal world. Under extreme fear, it can enter an involuntarily state that looks like death. The body goes limp, the mouth hangs open, drool appears, a foul smell also may seep from the rear. To many predators, in fact, that specific combination makes the opossum look sick, dead, or simply not even worth eating. In that case, the attacker may lose interest and simply move on. The cost here is that a motionless opossum cannot do much if the predator keeps pressing. Here's one surprising fact. Opossum's body really changes during this state, including drops in breathing and heart activity, which actually shows it's more than just a simple act. Armadillo. Some armadillos run or dig when threatened, but the three-banded armadillo has a rather more famous answer. It folds in the head, legs, and closes into a tight ball of armor. The shell, in fact, leaves almost no soft parts exposed. If a predator pushes at the small opening, the armadillo can snap shut and pinch a nose or a paw. Against, well, many hunters here, there is simply nothing easy to bite. The cause here is that the same passive defense here makes the animal easy for people to pick up by hand. That's one reason this excellent natural shield doesn't help much against human danger. One surprising fact here is that full rolling belongs only to the three-banded kinds, and not to armadillos in general. Fulmar Chick. Finally, a Fulmar Chick defends itself using parts of its own food supply. If a predator or a human comes too close to the nest, the chick can in fact spit a thick stream of stomach oil straight from its mouth. That oil is actually made from rich fats saved from earlier meals. When it splashes onto another bird, it mats the feathers, ruins waterproofing, and can make flight, floating, and staying warm much harder. In this case here, a hungry attacker can end up soaked, chilled, and forced to give up. The cause basically here is that every shot uses stored energy that could have gone into growth. One surprising fact here is that the same oily material works both as emergency fuel and as a defensive weapon.